So at the end of 15 minutes, kindly wrap up so that we can efficiently distribute the time amongst all the participants. Thank you for checking the pen. Let me know in just 2 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, everybody. I take around training sessions, and in one of the training sessions, it happened that two teachers were discussing, and the word ain't came into being. And one teacher said that she was an English teacher. She said, "I personally dislike ain't," and the other said, "Why? It can be used in cultural context." And then there was a discussion. Why and why not? Another instance, in my training session, there was a debate with the word schedule and another group of teachers with saying schedule. So, schedule and schedule with both group of teachers having their own perspective. Moving further, then came the spelling part. Some teachers said C-O-L-O-R is fine for us. The other one said no, C-O-L-O-U-R. So spelling also had a lot of own parameter. Said then there were so many words that they came up with. They said no, we follow this. We follow color, C-O-L-O-R, and the other said no. Since we are following British English, it's C-O-L-O-U-R. And then, the gist of everything, someone said, to boldly go. Another said, no, it's formally wrong. Said, why? It shows emphasis. Said, strict infinitive is not allowed in British English. Whereas the other said, it gives emphasis. So it can be used. And the last thing that I came across was preposition using at the end. Some said, this is a book I was talking about. And one group of teachers said, oh, it's not formally right. Why? Because about is a preposition and we don't use in standardized English. So, the crux of all these discussions and debate led me to think or tend me to take to a part of curiosity to find out how English teachers think and use English in their classroom. These were small discussions, but these discussions gave me my research topic and for exploring how English is used by the teacher, which becomes mandate for the students. So, we are going to talk about language usages, prescriptivism, attitude, and here I have done a research on the relationship between all these three words, usages, prescriptivism, and attitude, and how it is brought and taught by an English teacher. So, good morning, good afternoon, sir. So here we begin with the presentation. My research aimed to find out the intricacy of the attitude of teachers and their prescriptive tendencies. I wanted to find out what is the attitude that they have and what prescriptive attitude they take in the classroom. I wanted to also investigate what model these English teachers use when they go in the classroom. And my question again was whether these teachers were following a monolithic pattern, whether they were sticking to one perspective of English. Because when we talk about English, as we have seen in the plenary session, English or English. So what pattern they follow? Do they follow only British English? Do they follow only American English? Or they follow a mix of both? And for Indian context, we have our own flavor. We have our own Indian English. So I also wanted to know more about that. And when we talk about all these things, I hypothesize, I don't know whether you agree with me or not, that there is a strong correlationship between teachers' attitude and their inclination towards prescriptivism. Just picture this. A teacher is like a guiding star in the classroom. She has her own way, attitude of a particular way of writing and speaking English. And that becomes the rule book for the students. So your teacher is like a prescriptive authority. Whatever she mandates is followed by the learner. It's not only that. What teacher follows, what course book she follows, what model she follows, again is something mandatory for the student. If teacher is following, the student tends to follow. So my research question was moving around these three objectives. Now, if I have to, I step back and I talk about prescriptivism. Prescriptivism. What exactly prescriptivism is? Now, this came, you know, English is a growing language, and since ages, the 16th, 17th century is growing. So there was no mandate at that time. But a revolution took place where some linguists felt that language should be standardized, mainly because English was growing as a communication language. Not only communication language, like you have Joseph Priestley, you have Linda Murray, then you have Samuel Johnson. These people championed to standardize English. The reason being, English was usually used at that time for printing and publishing. So they wanted a standard norm. And the series of, I can say the series of work started for standardizing English, and still it's work. So you have standard English and you have English. You will have your continuous more circles in your mind. The inner circle, the outer circle, the expanding circle, behind outer circle, still we have our own flavor of Indian English. So that is what we are talking about. And India is, now when we talk about English is a global language, English is a dynamic language and teaching English is a challenge. And moreover, in a country like India where you heard in the plenary, linguistic diversity, geographic diversity, religious diversity, and with its regional dialects. So teaching English, standard English, or bringing that in Indian context is something we have to explore. And along with that, we have our Indian English also. So I want to explore what the teachers follow, what is their idea of prescriptivism, what they think, what they believe that they're taking it in the classroom. So my research, how it all started? It started in the training session when I thought of doing this research, and I used the Google form because it's cost effective and it is very easily, it can go to a number of teachers. I wanted to do this research in the state of Maharashtra. I had 136 English teacher, English as a second language, English as a second language. I used questionnaire. I had 6 sections in the questionnaire, and I used the snowball technique. The snowball technique helped me to reach to these 136 educators in Maharashtra. Actually, there were 161, but I was taking only English medium teachers, so I filtered and got it to 136. My variable first. Okay. My variables were experience and qualification for my data analysis. Okay. There were 6 sections in my questionnaire. The first one I gave the detail Second was general information, age and everything. Then qualification and experience was also collected because they were my variable for analyzing the data. A third section, I had a set of 14 questions where attitude towards the expression of those sentences were given. I'll show you. And I wanted to find out the attitude of the teachers towards those sentences. Section 4 was preference for the sentences that was given. It was yes, no, not sure. Section 5 was teacher authority over prescriptivism. And section 6 was language variety perception. I have given a number of sentences. This is section 3. I am giving only one question. This is one. Let us order for a pizza. This was in section 3. This is the limit scale that I had used, and this was the analysis. I had done analysis of all the sentences separately, and in the analysis I came to know how these variables were working and what was the attitude, what attitude the teacher had towards those sentences. And for the whole 14 sentences, I have done an overall analysis. This is only of section 3. Then I had section 4. Please call her on Monday. She's out of station now. This was just to find out which expression they use: Indian English, British English, or American English. Where the scale was no, not sure, and yes. Section 5. In this section, I wanted to understand the belief of the teachers. What perspective, attitude these teachers have. So here also we had a set of 15 questions. These are the questions. Now look at. So there were a set of questions. Section 6. This section 6. Now here there were those questions, and this section 6 had a mix of. I wanted to find out which expression that they are using. Whether they are using British English, whether they are using Indian English, whether they are using American English, or they are using a mix of all these three. Now there was a contradictory data analysis that I got it. In section 3, they said we use British English only. The same respondent. But when this section had come, when these sentences were given, in section 6, the same respondent, they said we normally use a mix of all the three. So again, there was a contradictory in the answer that they had given in section 3 and in section 6.
And we are almost crossed 12 minutes, so I can move to the conclusion.
It's not. So this is question 1. How do English language teachers understand and interpret prescriptivism in language usage? First, they adhere more to standardized English, and especially where qualification experience is concerned. This is what the data analysis said. This was the second question. What forms prescriptive model for teachers? Mostly they follow the grammar book that is prescribed by the state, by the board, or by some authority. They follow those, and they even follow the post book as their prescriptive authority. And the third question was, do they have do they follow a monolithic pattern? No, they do not, because they have, in the data analysis it was found that they believe more in mixing different perspectives, whether it's American, British, or Indian English. So this was my variable, and this worked out quite well. Limitation, it was only for Maharashtra. It was limited to English-speaking English medium schools, and only two male members were there. Remaining all were 134 were female participants. These all were the limitation. Scope is.
Ma'am, can we move to the question open house? If there are questions from the participants, we can cover up some portion of the discussion to participants.
So any question?